Jai Hind everyone, myself Dr. Inderjeet Kaur, Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. In this video, we will be discussing about Software Engineering KCS 601 and about Software Testing, that is Unit 4. So, for this, we will be starting from what is actually software testing, what are the objectives of software testing and what are the different types of testing. So, starting from the definition, what is testing? Testing is actually a process of demonstrating that errors are not present. What does this mean? So, we have prepared SRS, that is Software Requirement Specification. So, verifying our actual software that has been built with this SRS is doing the software testing. So, the purpose of testing is to show that the program, what we have written, it performs its intended functions correctly. Means we will be verifying that our output coming is as exact that is being mentioned in our SRS document. So, testing is the process of establishing the confidence that a program, it does what it is supposed to do. We will be checking our program with respect by giving different set of inputs, by checking its output, whether it is giving the correct output, by verifying it from our SRS document. So, as a standard definition, we can say that testing is the process of executing a program with the intent of finding errors. If our intention is to find maximum errors, that means we are doing our software testing process in a very meticulous way. So, who tests the software? The question is either developer or there should be some independent tester. Developer is a person who understands the system, but it will test very gently and it is driven by delivery. And if we say there are some independent testers being hired, so it must learn about the system, but it will attempt to break it and it is driven by quality. So, testers, they will check module by module by doing the integration and by performing the system testing, and developer will check the logic, so what exactly is the system behaving and what it was supposed to do. Then the question comes, why we should test, how we should test and what we should test. So, starting from why we should test? We should test because to identify the defects and reduce the flow of our system that we have built, or if we are talking about the component of the system, then to identify the defects in our component, that is the reason for performing testing. Then this testing, it increases the overall quality of the system because now errors, they are being identified in advance before the software product is being delivered. Then next comes how we should perform testing. Now we are being fixed ki we should perform the testing. Then next comes ki how we should go ahead. Testing is done to find the errors from the software, to improve the overall efficiency and communication further in our proposed software, and it is done by QA analyst, test engineers, software testers, quality assurance, performance testers, usability testers and every professional that are being involved in the agile development of the software. Then comes ki what we should test. As suppose we write a simple program for performing the 2-digit integers, then we can imagine how many possibilities can be there. So, these possibilities, they are known as the test cases. Now, we should test the program responses for every valid and invalid inputs. So, if I consider a program with 2 inputs of 8-bit integers, so that means the possible combinations can be 2 raised to power 8 into 2 to power 8, that is 256 into 256, and practically it is not possible to check 256 cross 256 valid set of inputs ki whether my program is behaving correctly for all these inputs. So question comes ki what we should test, which set of inputs we should consider to find maximum errors in my program, and then in the lastly I should say ki my program is behaving in a correct manner. So the different testing, that means equivalence class testing, boundary value analysis, they identify in how we should proceed for doing the testing. Then next comes the objectives of testing. Objectives of testing means finding the defects which we may get created by the programmer when he was developing the software. Then to make sure that the end result that meets its user requirements, whatever was mentioned in SRS. If it is not meeting, that means somewhere we are wrong and we should correct it. That is, objective of testing is to ensure that it satisfies the SRS. Whatever has been fixed between the customer and the developer in the SRS document that has been prepared by following any model. So we started from the software requirement specification, then we move ahead to the design phase, then implementation phase, then testing phase, and then we will be proceeding towards maintenance phase. So whatever has been mentioned in the written SRS document, so if it is being ensuring satisfying that SRS, that should be the part of objective of our testing. Then to gain the confidence of the customers by providing a quality product. See, if we are making some product and delivering it in the market and everyone is praising it, why they are praising? Because it is giving me the correct output. Then I will gain the confidence from the customer कि my product is very nice and in which manner I should proceed further. And if they tell me some suggestions, then of course I will incorporate them in my next version. Then testing shows the presence of defects. Exhaustive testing, it is very much impossible. Then I should go for early testing or I should build the entire system, then I should proceed for testing. Then there can be some defect clustering, then the peptides paradox. Then testing is my context dependent and it ensures that the absence of error fallacy. Then there are some terminologies that we used when we are performing the software testing. First and foremost thing that we used is error, or also known as mistake. What is error? It is a human action that is being producing the incorrect result. So error or mistake, as it is being mentioned in this diagram, it leads to defect or fault or bug because it is giving me incorrect result. The reason is incorrect result is being produced as the output by doing some mistake or by performing an error. Then bug. Bug is defined as the presence of error at the time of software execution. Suppose I am executing my program and there occurs some error, runtime error, that is known as bug. So I will debug my program and then I will see that now my program is error free. Then fault. Fault is defined as the state of software that is caused by an error. So at the moment of my error, my software is known as it is in the state of fault. Then is defined the failure. Failure is deviation of the software from its expected result. So this expected result will be matching it or verifying it from my SRS document. Then here we can see defect and fault or bug, they are leading to the failure that we have mentioned here. Then what are the test cases and test suits? Test cases, they are being used as interchangeably. Somewhere I will use the test or somewhere I will mention the test cases. So it describes an input description and an expected output description. The set of test cases is called the test suite. Then I can say human action is producing the incorrect result, presence of an error at the time of software execution. Error and mistakes, they are being done by the developers or automation test engineers. Bugs, they are being done by, corrected by, found by test engineers. Then faults. Faults are human mistakes. They cause the fault. That is the reason for coming the fault. These definitions we have covered in our last slide. So, we are discussing this. Failure is identified by the manual test engineers. Test or test cases that are describing an input and an expected output description, they are being identified by testing team. Then, the set of all the test cases, they are called as test suite, and testing team, they make the test suite. Then, there are different levels of software testing. Testing process, it consists of 3 stages. One is our unit testing. Here we can see different units are there and independently they will be tested. They are being developed. Now they will be independently tested ki whether this module is giving correct result as per its expectation. This module is giving correct result as per its expectation. Suppose, for example, consider a program for making the calculator. So, in that calculator, suppose it incorporates the operation addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square root. So, independently I have written the module for addition, independently I have written the module for subtraction, independently I have written the module for multiplication, independently I have written the module for performing division, independently I have written the module for square root and all. Now, this checking whether my addition result is coming means 2 numbers I have performed the addition, whether they are giving the correct result. By giving the 2 numbers for performing subtraction, they are giving the correct result if I have defined them as an integer or float. So, they are known as unit testing. So, when this is being integrated, suppose I want to perform the calculator as I said in the example. So, when I am doing the integration of these independent modules, they are known as integration testing. Suppose I am calculating the factorial. So, in that factorial, suppose I have given the value of n is equal to 4. So, for calculating n is equal to 4, I will perform 4 cross 3 cross 2 cross 1. That means, my program will be recursively calling for its n minus 1 till it reaches 0. So, different modules, they are integrated together and this is entire my system. How the overall linking is here being shown here. So, how this is behaving, whether it is giving me the correct results at the time of integration, whether it is giving me the correct result when it is behaving as a whole entire system. So, checking that, it is known as unit testing. Checking like this, it is known as the integration testing. Checking like this, it is known as the system testing. So, starting from the unit testing. Unit testing, here the unit tests, they are executed by the software developers in order to check whether my code, it is meeting its requirements as they are being mentioned in my SRS document. Means my individual program is giving me the correct results for all its valid inputs, that is known as unit testing. What is the goal for performing this unit testing? Answer for this is, the goal is to test that the individual parts are working correctly. Suppose I am making a machine. So, that machine is comprising of different components. So that components, if they are behaving correctly, that means I can think that my machine will behave correctly. So, here the goal is to check those independent modules, independent components, independent parts, they are working properly and they are giving me the correct results. What are the advantages for performing this unit testing? Here, if I say ki this component is not working properly, so before proceeding towards integration, before proceeding towards making an entire system, before proceeding towards delivery to the market and selling it to a different customer, I will be able to find the issue, I will be able to resolve that issue, I will be able to replace that component. So, that is the biggest advantage of doing unit testing, means issues are being found at very early stage. I will correct it. What is the problem in my addition module? What is the problem in my division module? What is the problem in my factorial module? If I am making a calculator and different operations, they are being made as a different functions. So, it helps in maintaining and changing the code. After I have seen ki it is this function is not behaving properly, so I will change my code. So, it helps in reducing the cost of the bug fixes. This question comes ki as I said in somewhere earlier slide ki testing is being performed by developer and there are some teams of independent testers. Their role is, their designation is software tester. They are being given the duty to check, to perform the software testing for the integration testing, for the system testing of the developed software, so that bugs can be corrected before the software is being delivered, because the risk factors or the cost of bug, the cost of software, it becomes very down if there comes bug. Market value goes to down for that software if there are so many of errors, if there are so many of faults, nobody will purchase it. So, imagine who is the beginner, who is the developer of that software, no company will produce it further, there will be no developers will be hired and the market will go down. So, for that some software testers are being hired for every project, so that their role is to fix the bug, their role is to find the bug first and then fix the bug first, then so that the software can be delivered to the market in a correct manner. And if it is being, the bug is being found at the earlier stage, I will say ki its cost is down. Otherwise, if it is being found at later stages, means at the time of integration stages or at the system stages or in the beta version of the product, then the cost of the software, it becomes high. So, helps in reducing the cost of bug fixes. So, it helps in simplifying the debugging process. Then, moving on to the component testing. This component testing, it is also called as the module testing. In this, the entire component, it is being tested in the isolation from the rest of the system. Again, this all will be performed by the software testers, independent testing team. They are also being given a good amount of salaries. So, we can imagine ki how much percentage, how much weightage is being given independently to the software testing phase of my software. It is not only if I am good in writing the code, then I will be hired by the software industry. No. So, if I can perform testing in an efficient manner, I can analyze ki at this stage my software how it should behave, or there are chances ki it may produce the fault, then I am good, I can be good in the testing. Then stubs and drivers. Stubs, there are two approaches for performing the integration testing. It can be top down, starting from the top and then coming to the down. And bottom up is the reverse. I will be starting from the leaf and then I will be moving towards the root. So, stubs, they are being used in top-down integration testing, and stubs, they are called actually as the called programs. They are similar to the modules of the software, they are under development process. So, I will firstly define the function, and then write the code of the function whenever it is being called. That is known as the stub. It is used to test the feature and functionality of the module, ki whether this module will behave in a correct way. Then drivers. These drivers, they are being used in the bottom-up integration testing, and they are known as the calling program. They are used to invoke the component that needs to be tested. So, if they are being used, if the main module of the software, it is not being developed for the testing. Here it is my tested unit, and whatever is being called program, they are known as stub, and who is the calling program is the driver. Next comes the integration testing. All the individual software modules, they are being combined here, and now they are being tested as a group. So, this statement means that I will be taking the input modules that have been performed unit tested, and I will be making the group in a larger aggregates and applying the test in a integration testing plan, and I will deliver as the output that is ready for my system testing. After performing unit testing, I will be making the different module and I will be performing the integration testing. So, the integration testing is getting input from the unit testing, and whatever is the output of this integration testing, that will serve as the input for my system testing. There are different strategies for performing this integration testing. These are, one of them is the Big Bang integration, that is non-incremental approach. Then I may perform incremental integration. Then next can be top-down integration, then bottom-up integration, and last one is sandwich testing. Then system testing. I said that after performing the integration testing, I will be proceeding towards the system testing if everything goes in a right manner. So, system testing, it is the final test to verify that the system to be delivered, it meets its specification and purpose. So, this system testing, it tests both way, the functional and non-functional aspects of my software. It starts with unit testing, then I perform the component, then I perform at the third go integration testing. So, it is carried out by the specialized tester or independent testers. It cannot be performed by the developer. So, this is performed on the basis of written test cases that are collected from SRS and design documents. And this system testing, it ensures that the product is ready now for moving to the user acceptance testing level. Next comes, there are three types of testing: alpha, beta and acceptance. Alpha testing, it is performed at the developer and it is conducted in a control environment, and developers, they record the errors and their usage problems. Then beta testing, it is done by one or more customers. Imagine earlier we were using the Yahoo Beta Messenger. So, that was developed by Yahoo, being given to customer to test it. So, that was the beta version. It is conducted in an environment that is not controlled by developer, and the customer, they records all the problems, submits the report to the developer, so that further changes can occur in the next version. Then acceptance, it is done at one or more customer site, and it is conducted as the series of tests to enable the customer and validate all the requirements. So, this testing is used when the software is developed for a specific customer. Then comes the functional testing, also known as black box versus structural, that is known as white box. So, if I talk about the functional testing, that means generating the test cases based on the functionality of the software. And if I am talking about structural testing, here I am generating the test cases based on the structure of my program. So, black box testing and white box testing, they are the synonyms for functional structural testing. So, in this the internal structure of the program is hidden from the testing team. And in the white box testing, everything is taken into consideration. Then I can say module versus integration testing. Module testing means testing the modules of the program in isolation, and integration means testing as a integrated set of modules. So this was all about the testing. Starting of testing, I must say, testing strategies, what should be the objectives of testing, how should be it performed, and different types of testing that we have discussed. So in the next video lecture, we will be discussing about functional and structural testing. Thank you.